When, with modest effort and risk, we can stop children from being gassed to death and thereby make our own children safer over the long run, I believe we should act.
President Obama presents his case to the nation for holding the leader of Syria accountable for a recent chemical weapons attack. In our cover story, the American wage war. Some say living on welfare rivals flipping burgers. Reaction to Apple's new iPhones from Main Street to Wall Street. And are you a sucker for a sob story? We look at the risks of becoming a human ATM. First Business starts now.
You're watching First Business, financial news, analysis, and today's investment ideas.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Angela Miles. It's Wednesday, September 11th. In today's first look, business on trading floors will pause this morning for a moment of silence in remembrance of the tragic events of September 11th, 2001. President Obama takes a diplomatic turn. The president offered words of hope to a possible peaceful resolution to the Syrian crisis in his primetime speech last night. Ahead of his remarks, stocks took off with the Dow racing up 128 points, NASDAQ 23 and S&P higher by 12. Commodities collapsed, with gold falling $22 and oil losing $2.23. And chipmaker Texas Instruments has narrowed its outlook for the third quarter. Larry Schober of SFG Alternatives joins us on this 9/11 trading day. Good morning to you, Larry. And I would think there'll be some heavy hearts that are trading today, with a lot of people thinking about what happened in New York and around the country on this date.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, 12 years ago, it seems like a long time ago, but really it wasn't. And a lot of us did lose loved ones or coworkers, given that there was a trading floor there in the industry. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a time for us all to reflect and just be thankful for what we do have.
Moving on to the situation with Syria, we had remarks last night from the president. How will that affect trading today?
Well, I think it's calming volatility among asset classes down a little bit. We saw that yesterday with gold volatility down, oil down. I mean, I think it's just going to help keep the market from being so sentiment-oriented and going back to fundamentals.
And a big shakeup of the Dow. A number of stocks leaving and entering. It looks like we're going to have Alcoa, HP, and Bank of America out. Moving in, Nike, Visa, and Goldman Sachs. How will that affect trading?
Well, not a whole lot. So people just don't even look at it anymore, at least on a professional basis. It's not really an industrial index anymore. I mean, I don't want to downplay it all the way, but when I started, we had Woolworth, we had Bethlehem Steel, and now there are these companies that it's sad to see Alcoa go away. It's been in since '59, but people really don't look at it from the professional side the way they used to.
Will there be any rebalancing, though, for money managers as we move closer to the actual date of September 20th when this does happen?
Yeah, there's going to have to be, because there's different companies going in, different market sectors going in. We're probably going to see a lot of churning of positions between now and then.
Thanks, Larry.
You're welcome.
President Obama called for Congress to postpone its vote on whether to approve a military strike against Syria. This comes as a diplomatic solution, not a military one, plays out. In a speech before the American people last night, the president said Russia, a key ally of Syria, has come forth with a proposal to push Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad to give up Syria's chemical arsenal.
I'm sending Secretary of State John Kerry to meet his Russian counterpart on Thursday, and I will continue my own discussions with President Putin. I've spoken to the leaders of two of our closest allies, France and the United Kingdom, and we will work together in consultation with Russia and China to put forward a resolution at the UN Security Council requiring Assad to give up his chemical weapons and to ultimately destroy them under international control.
U.S. warships are holding their position off the Syrian coast, but this diplomatic maneuvering may avert a strike that President Obama has threatened since learning of a nerve gas attack on more than 1,000 civilians, including children, in Syrian neighborhoods openly opposed to the al-Assad regime.
Economic data out of China this week continues to show signs of stability. The nation's economy has been slowing during the past couple of years, but in the latest read, factory output growth is now at a 17-month high, and retail sales are increasing at the fastest pace so far this year. Economists and traders are keeping tabs on China, fearing the nation could be at risk when the Federal Reserve tapers its stimulus program in the U.S.
Apple failed to impress Wall Street with its latest product launch. The stock fell 2% in trading yesterday after the tech giant unveiled two new phones Tuesday, one with a faster operating system and another cheaper model. The Apple 5S, made of aluminum, comes in gold, silver, and what they call space gray. It includes a faster processor and fingerprint security sensors. The cost, $200 with a contract. The iPhone 5C comes in an array of bright colors and will sell for $99. Both will be available in the U.S., China, and other countries later this month. We talked with potential buyers.
For myself, I'm quite an extensive user, so I would go for the dearer one. But for the kids and the wife, maybe the other model would be sufficient.
The iPhone C, I mean, you really can't go cheap with an iPhone. You know what I mean? For them to kind of dumb it down to, I don't know, reach a different demographic, I think it kind of cheapens the value of, the iPhone.
Well, I think it's good that they're doing a cheaper model. I think the reason I don't have an iPhone is because it's too expensive.
Just ahead of Apple's big reveal, Walmart said it will join other retailers in offering a smartphone trade-in program that includes credit toward a new phone.
Apple shares danced around the $500 mark after the product launch. James O'Malley of KeenOnTheMarket.com joins us now from the CBOE trading floor this morning. Good morning, James. And the $500 mark has been so critical to this stock. What do you see going forward?
Right, so just like you said, going into the event on Tuesday, we saw the stock dancing and chopping through that $500 level. 500 is a big pivot in Apple, both technically and psychologically. And we saw two things happen on the announcement of the new products. We saw the stock implied volatility drop, and then we saw the stock sell off. Now, they were estimating around a $17 move in the stock by Friday's expiration, and now that's coming a little bit here. I think that the stock is going to move at least $17 and could even find some more downside than that. I want to be nothing but short Apple through this Friday's expiration with a downside target around $480.
Are there other stocks connected to Apple that you think are worth watching?
Right, there are. One of the big product announcements that Apple showed at the event was the new, cheaper iPhone. Now, I don't think that's going to do too much for Apple's growth potential. However, it is going to cut into the profit margins of other phone makers like BlackBerry that have low-cost offerings. Who's going to buy a BlackBerry now when they can buy a new iPhone for $100? So I would look for shorts in stocks like BlackBerry. I'm going to watch those and anything connected to those and device makers that have lower-end devices.
James, thank you for that update from the trading floor.
Paying with plastic might no longer mean slapping down a credit card. The Bank of England is experimenting with cash made out of a plastic polymer. Money is stronger, cleaner, and harder to counterfeit. It can also survive a trip to the washing machine. The downside, plastic bills cannot be folded and are slipperier than paper money. The bank will make a final decision on the cash in December. If adopted, bills will be introduced in 2016.
The European market appears to be having a Big Mac attack. McDonald's is reporting a 1.9% increase in global sales for August. Strong sales in Europe helped spur the hike. McDonald's has introduced several new items, including premium wrapped sandwiches and ice blended beverages. The world's largest fast food chain is trying to boost sales and fight off rivals Burger King and Wendy's.
The FDIC moves to protect foreigners who deposit money in overseas branches of U.S. banks. The new rules are in response to UK regulators who voiced concerns that U.S. banks favored domestic depositors over foreign-based commercial depositors. Foreign depositors will now have more protections but will not have access to the FDIC insurance fund for U.S. depositors.
House Republicans are changing tactics in their fight to block Obamacare. GOP House members had been toying with voting to refuse funding for the new law, but that would have triggered an unpopular government shutdown. The new plan would fund the government through mid-December, but would force the democratically controlled Senate to vote again on the Affordable Care Act. The Senate has rejected several previous House attempts to avert the new law.
The government is selling its remaining stake in Citibank, handing taxpayers a hefty profit from its bailout. The U.S. poured $45 billion into Citi at the height of the financial crisis. After the government sells the bonds it holds in the bank, a $15.5 billion profit is expected.
Rising home prices in the second quarter reduced the number of homeowners who were underwater. Less than 15% of homeowners have property that is worth less than what's owed on the mortgage. According to CoreLogic, that's a 5% drop from the first quarter. The report also shows in the first half of the year, 3.5 million homeowners had homes that turned around in value and were back on par with mortgage amounts.
A furniture company that struggled following the collapse of the housing market and has failed to rebound has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Furniture Brands International makes Broyhill, Drexel Heritage, and Thomasville, among others. USA Today reports that the company wants to sell the majority of its businesses to investment firm Oaktree Capital Management.
It's something animal rights groups have been lobbying for years, a crackdown on selling pets over the internet. New regulations will require breeders who sell animals online to be federally licensed, meaning sellers will be subject to the same oversight as wholesale animal breeders. The new laws are targeted at puppy mills, currently not subject to oversight and often breeding animals in harsh conditions.
Small business owners are sending out mixed messages. The National Federation of Independent Businesses reports sales slipped at small companies, forcing owners to lay off workers. However, the number of small business owners planning to hire additional workers during the next 3 months climbed to its highest level since 2007.
The Ford Focus is at the center of safety concerns after multiple reports the electric cars are shutting down while driving. Complaints allege the cars are stalling at speeds above 30 miles per hour. So far, no one's been injured. The 2012 and 2013 models are under investigation. A Ford spokesperson says the company is cooperating.
You've dreamed of owning a Tesla? How about leasing one? Tesla is starting up a lease-style option that could generate hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue for the automaker. The buyback plan available to Tesla customers is completely controlled by Tesla. The company sells its vehicles through its own stores, not dealers. Then, when customers bring a leased car back to Tesla, the company may then control resale costs.
Urban Outfitters is full of shorts, and not the kind you wear, but rather traders who are shorting the stock and want shares to go down. Yesterday, Urban stock was the biggest loser in the S&P 500, falling 10% in heavy volume. There were so many people selling the stock, at one point it tripped the NASDAQ short sale circuit breaker. The retailer geared toward teens and 20-somethings warned yesterday sales have been rising at a mid-single-digit rate.
The New York City Opera needs to raise $7 million by the end of the month, or else it may have to shut down. The revelation comes 9 days before the scheduled premiere of Anna Nicole with the Brooklyn Academy of Music. The City Opera is dedicated to bringing opera to the masses and is taking donations via Kickstarter.
Here's the economic calendar for today. It's the MBA Mortgage Index, wholesale inventories, and crude inventories. On the earnings calendar, watch for Men's Warehouse and Vera Bradley. Still to come, why some believe it's better to be on welfare than work a minimum wage. Plus, the latest evidence the rich are getting richer and what to do when friends and family ask for money. First Business continues right after this.
In our cover story, while many debate whether the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour should be raised, a recent study found that financially, welfare recipients in 35 states do better than those working for that amount. At a time when fast food employees and store clerks are protesting to get the minimum wage raised, a study is out saying in 35 states you're better off collecting welfare.
Poor people aren't lazy. They're also not stupid.
Michael Tanner co-authored the study released by the Cato Institute. It compiled welfare benefits packages state by state in 1995 when an earlier study was done, and then adjusted the amounts for inflation. But University of Illinois labor relations professor Bob Bruno says the minimum wage hasn't kept up with inflation and is dubious of the report's conclusions.
I think this is about limiting government programs that would create supports for workers in the workplace.
The study, entitled The Work versus Welfare Trade-Off 2013, concluded that in 17 states, welfare benefits adjusted for inflation pay more than $10 an hour, and in 13 states, more than $15 an hour. Tanner believes the findings reveal welfare systems in several states that discourage recipients from accepting work.
What we need to do is consolidate these programs down to a handful, and then to cap the total level of benefits that individuals can receive. The second thing we should be doing is to enforce the work requirements that were part of welfare reform.
However, critics interpret the report not so much as a call for welfare reform as a supporting argument for raising the minimum wage.
The minimum wage is woefully inadequate. It is very low. It hasn't kept up with the cost of living, and there is a serious need to raise the minimum wage.
In Dearborn Heights, Michigan, owners of a fast food restaurant called Moo Cluck Moo will pay new employees $15 an hour beginning October 1st. Starting pay is already $12 an hour, but its owners say the higher pay leads to better service and a lower turnover rate.
The gap between the super rich and everyone else is growing even wider. New research shows the top 1% of U.S. moneymakers had a record year in 2012 by making money in the stock market and avoiding higher capital gains taxes. The incomes of the 1%ers rose nearly 20% last year. That's compared with the 1% increase for the other 99%. Coming up next, are you becoming the family's ATM? How to find a balance between helping and enabling. And later on, a trader aims his sights on a retail stock that he says is on sale. Don't miss it. We'll be right back. It's a tough dilemma, knowing what to do when a friend or family member asks to borrow money. Joining us by Skype this morning, Carrie Sloan, editor-in-chief of LearnVest. Hello, and is money lending to friends and family a good idea?
It's a hot topic because 1 in 4 Americans will be asked to give money to someone they know. That's a fact. There are 4 questions you want to ask yourself. The first one is, are you willing to give this money away and not get it back? So is it a loan that you're willing to give for a period of time, or do you expect to be repaid? And the next thing you want to do is protect yourself. If you're going to loan money, get it in writing. There are sites like Lending Karma that will help you create a contract for $15 to $60 and help you set up a repayment plan. So that's the other thing that you want to consider. One type of loan you're never going to want to give is being a guarantor on a mortgage, a student loan, even on a cell phone bill, because you will be liable if the person on that account defaults.
Carrie, how can you tell if you're becoming an enabler?
Well, one of the things you want to look at, is this a repeat offender or is this someone who's just down and out temporarily? And I think you know, if it's a close friend or relative, what type of person that is. But the other thing that the experts say is that you want to look, is there any sort of underlying pattern of addiction, like a shopping addiction, depression, anxiety, even manic depression that might be lending itself to odd financial behavior?
And the hardest question of all, you said to ask yourself, and that is, how do you get the money back?
You want to, the minute that you set up the loan, not give it freely, but set up a repayment plan. You'll do that in writing. It doesn't need to be a 20-page contract, but you'll say, these are the terms. I'm giving it to you for X number of months or years. I need you to start repaying it in this month, and I need you to pay it in installments of X. And you can set the terms, but that way the expectations are clear both for the person who's giving and the person who's receiving the loan.
Carrie Sloan, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Still ahead, the retail stock that may be headed for a rebound. Chart Talk is next. Trader Alan Neckman believes he is right on target with his next trade. Good morning, Alan.
Good morning, Angie.
Well, Target shares have been down, but is that because of what's been going on with Walmart and concerns about that retailer?
Yeah, I think it was really a kind of a sympathy play, but if you're a trader and you're into charts, this is what it is a chart play looking at things technically. We're right now at about the halfway point of the last 52 weeks, and that's held a support. But if you even dial back further, look at a 2-year chart, that stock is trading between 73 and 47. So you can really lean on that 60 level. 60 is the midpoint support, and right now we're sitting about 64.5 or so.
Is this a stock you would want to buy before the fourth quarter, the holiday quarter?
Oh, sure. This is a stock that's 15% off, so you could say there's a sale going on at Target. But if you look at it from a risk-reward standpoint, you lean on 60 on a closing weekly basis. If it's below that, you get out. I'm looking at buying the 57.5 call, which is an in-the-money call. It's going to cost about $8.25. My break-even's only $1 higher. And this is an April option, so it's got 7 months, which works out to 221 days for this to develop. And looking at the charts here, it traded between 68 and 72. And if it gets back inside that channel and moves above 72, you could see a quick run to 76. So I like the risk reward on this chart.
What could be a possible drag on the stock?
Well, the macroeconomic picture, but I think that, I'd like to be a buyer of distress and look to see how it reacts and just really lean on that 60 level. So from where we are right now, there's a $4 risk between 64 and 60, but if I have a target up at 76, I've got a lot more upside than I do downside from a risk reward level.
Thank you, Alan. Have a good trading day.
Thank you.
Coming up tomorrow, a check on the box office after what's being called the slowest weekend of the year. Find out about the new movies that could reel in audiences. From all of us at First Business, have a wonderful Wednesday.